All right. Good evening, everybody. David McCoy, Ochimo Properties, Real Estate Matters. So it's been quite a while since I've done a video. That's not quite true. I've done a few videos, but I didn't put them up. We've had a lot going on since I did this. I don't know when you're watching this, but this is the year 2020, and we had the pandemic, the global pandemic. And so for a couple of months, pretty much the economy was shut down. And then following that, just in the last month, we've had a lot of unrest in the United States due to a policeman who killed a black gentleman, and it's created unrest throughout the U.S. and throughout the world also. With all of that going on, I just decided that I was going to wait to do a video. I considered doing one kind of on a regular schedule as I had been, but I also really wanted to try to talk about real estate. I didn't want this really to become a blog about social issues or politics. If I do decide to do that, that would be a separate channel, a separate blog. So I wanted to stay on real estate, and with that in mind, it seemed like just a good idea to kind of sit and wait a while. So we are, I don't know that we're done with the pandemic, but things are much better. It's summer here. The infection rate has gone down considerably. Much of the United States is starting to open up their economy again. And so that's really what I want to talk about here. So the economy is being reopened. Pretty much each individual state is making their own decisions about when and how to do those things. But things are opening up back slowly. And one thing we weren't really sure about is how the economy would do. I mean, the economy for each state and for the nation has been basically shut down. So we weren't really sure, and we're still not sure, although the initial signs are very promising. The housing market the residential housing market has rebounded very sharply. There is a shortage of residential properties available. A lot of that is, there was a shortage before all this started, but when the pandemic started, a lot of people decided not to go ahead and list their homes. Some people decided to take theirs off the market, which of course made the supply even tighter. So when people started looking around again, right now we're back to the situation that we had a couple of years ago, where a lot of houses are getting offers almost as soon as they go on the market, sometimes multiple offers, and prices are up fairly sharply. I've been talking with some of my colleagues across the U.S. It varies, of course, from market to market, but I'm hearing very commonly among my friends in different areas that around 9 or 10% increase in home value is the increase in prices that people are seeing. So the residential market is coming back very strong, and so hopefully that will continue. The economy in general is also coming back. Retail sales, we just got figures out for May, are up 18%, which is terrific, much higher than expected. So we are seeing that part of the economy come back. A lot of places are just now starting to reopen, restaurants and theaters, and some of those things are still a ways off. I'm not going to say that we're without casualties, because there have been some casualties. We have had a number of restaurants just couldn't survive. There are a number of restaurants that are closing permanently. Other restaurants have made the decision not to reopen as restaurants. They are going to stay open as what we're calling ghost kitchens. So a ghost kitchen being where they are preparing food, and basically it's sort of like a delivery kitchen. They're preparing food and they're delivering it, but they're not really maintaining a dining room or in-house service. But so restaurants have been hit hard, and we're losing a lot of those. Retail has also been hit hard. It was encouraging to see the big increase in retail, but we have really, of course, while everybody's been locked down, a lot of people who previously did not do as much of their shopping online really learned how to do that. In many cases, they had no choice. So that, I would say, has probably accelerated the trend that has been going on for years toward online sales versus in-person sales. So we will have some shops, and there are some shops that have announced that they will be closing permanently. So the retail, that trend has been going on for a while. I would say that probably has accelerated it somewhat. Industrial, I think it's a little early to say, but I think it will probably continue to remain strong. The commercial markets have not yet, real estate markets have not yet really recovered, which is not unusual. The commercial real estate is just super tightly tied to the economy, and the economy is coming back, but it's not really booming yet. And so it makes sense, and also typically the commercial market lags behind the residential market. So it's not unusual to have the residential market doing, kind of booming, and the commercial market not quite there yet. But I think we'll continue to see strength in the industrial. I mean, that kind of goes along with the shift to online retail sales, e-tail sales, instead of in person. So I think we'll see that. One of the things I think that we are seeing, and we'll see if it stays that way, is the office space. So many people learn to work from home. They learn to conduct meetings. They learn to do so much from home that we had been having a trend toward people working at home anyway, notably among the call centers and that kind of work, but general office work in general. And some people found that their people seemed to be even more productive at home. So a lot of big companies, notably Twitter is one, some of the high-tech companies have told their employees, I believe at this time it's an option, it's not mandatory, but they have told them that they may continue to work from home if they choose to. And these companies are making moves toward shutting down some of their large offices. I think we'll see some other people do that as well. So I think we'll see if that's a long-term trend. I think we're moving in that direction, and that would mean a decrease in the demand for office. Another thing I think that we're going to see with the unrest that we've had in our cities, a lot of that unrest, there have been riots and looting, and it's been pretty out of control in many places around the United States. And we had a period of, I don't know, 20 or 30 years where people were moving back into the cities. People, were enjoying the city life and the things that city had to offer. There were a lot of jobs, a lot of people working there, and there had been a lot of growth in our cities. I think with the unrest, we may see that trend reverse. A lot of cities, a lot of people who lived in cities, even though they were shut down because of the virus anyway, Their shops were looted. Their places of work were attacked. And so a lot of people are out of work, and they were out of work anyway, but now they're going to be out of work much longer, if not permanently. A lot of people were frightened because they realized that in those large cities, how vulnerable they were in terms of getting food delivered and necessities delivered. It was a much bigger chore to do that for those large cities. And then with the riots and the looting, they didn't feel safe. Gun sales have skyrocketed. The gun sales for May were 80% above the same amount last year. And in April, it was the same way. They were 70% above last year. 40% of the guns are being sold to people who never had guns before. And people also realized that if, with all that unrest, when the police were overwhelmed, they couldn't rely on the police to protect them as they had always assumed they had. So there's been some major changes. Right now, New York City has had a net outflow of more than 400,000 people. Nearly 500,000 people have left the city. It's unclear if they have left permanently. They say that the moving vans, the moving vans, they do an index of people moving in and moving out, and I believe, I'm trying to remember, I think they said that the demand for people moving out, I want to say, was maybe 12 times as high as it was last year. So, some of these other cities, they're talking right now about defunding the police. And some cities are doing that. And while this is not intended to be a political observation, it's just an observation, I believe that that will also affect demand for real estate in those areas. We'll wait and see, but I believe that the cities that decide to try to defund, to make their police departments smaller or eliminate them altogether, will have people moving out and probably companies moving out. I think they'll have a very difficult time attracting new residents and new companies just because people will be concerned about security. That's a prediction. It's I could be wrong about that, but I think that it's certainly something to watch. So a lot has happened in the last few months. We'll kind of see how it goes. We can, and really, I guess, rather than go down another avenue, we'll just leave it at that. So that's sort of my update. I don't know if I can call it post-coronavirus update, but certainly the economy is reopening, and so I think it makes sense to kind of have this talk. So what I want to leave off with, though, is we've had a lot of changes in the in our society and in business, in the economy, and we went over a number of those. We're beginning, I think, to be able to tell which of these are temporary and which are permanent. We don't have 100% clear vision on that yet, but I think we can see the trends. With that in mind, especially for commercial real estate, for those of you who are running businesses, for those of you who are trying to plan out your business, part of that planning for your business should include your real estate. It should include, are we expanding? Are we contracting? What do we think is going to happen here, and how do we need to adjust for that? For the offices that stay open, there are, we're seeing people talk about reversing those trends. We've been getting more and more compact, more and more dense in the occupation of office space. And I had mentioned that once before in a previous video. And so now they're saying we need to reverse that so that people can have their personal space between people to try to mitigate risk of infection from things like this pandemic. And again, we're having more people talk about staying home. Same thing with retail space. Is it time to expand that retail space? Is it time maybe to look for something smaller? These are all things. So kind of as you make your plans for what you want to do with your business, that real estate can be a very important part of that. And I would say sometimes people kind of make the plans and then they come to the real estate kind of at the very end. They kind of save that for the last minute. And getting the real estate to fall into place is not always an easy thing to do. Sometimes it takes time. If you're building something, you have to find a place to build. You have to have enough time to build and get it up and running, and that takes time. And even if you're leasing something, you have to find a place to lease. If it needs any modifications, you need time to do that. You need time to negotiate your lease. All of these things take time. So really, it's not a bad idea to have real estate as part of your planning process. So anyway, just food for thought. If you are starting to reassess your needs, if you're starting to reassess what you're doing, it may be time to kind of take that real estate into account. And so if that is the case, and you would like some assistance with that, let me know. If I can help you in some way, I would love to do it. I'm going to shut it down for now, and thanks very much. Hope you all have a great evening, and take care, and I will see you next time. Take care.